Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with my dear friend from Munich, Sören Meyer-Eller, who will not let me call him Herr Doctor, Professor, or anything like that, but he's extremely eminent. You should just know that. He's much more eminent than I am. And I am thrilled. I was thrilled anyway. I'm still thrilled that he is willing to join me, and you have no idea how much persuading that took to talk about some of the things that we've done together and separately in the record world, because I know that you're interested in sort of the backstory on how these projects get produced. And I just have to say, personally, by way of introduction, I mean, the projects that he's worked on have been superbly done because he knows how to do a project, unlike so many other people in the record industry. And you can see that in the extremely well-researched, carefully annotated, extremely complete booklets that come with the editions that he's produced. But I want to start way, way, way back at the beginning. When we first met, you were working for Virgin.
No.
Virgin Records, or you did productions for Virgin Records.
No.
Yes.
No, that's not true. I was with Phonoforum.
Yeah, but what about the things like the Hartmann piano music and
That was before.
That's what I said before
yes,
we met.
But before we met.
Yeah,
yes,
before we
yes,
met, you were working
yes.
for Virgin.
Yes, that's true. Virgin Classics back then.
Virgin Classics, and you
in Germany.
You did German productions.
Yes.
Right? And you did what else was there? Karl Anton Rickenbacker doing Intimate and some other things, I think.
I don't remember very well, actually. That's almost 40 years ago.
We've known each other for quite a while.
Yeah, that's true.
It's buried in prehistory. But I remember. Was it Siegfried Mauser?
Yes, that was Siegfried Mauser.
Doing the Hartmann piano music?
Yes.
I remember that one.
Yes. Well, yes. Back then, Karl Amadeus Hartmann was not very well known, and neither were the piano works, of course. But this is not so important. I think it's long gone, and Siegfried Mauser also. So
he's as long gone as the
well.
recording.
I don't think. I'm not sure if he's still doing things.
Yeah.
But let's talk about this.
All right. But after Virgin, you worked for Phonoforum, which
Yes.
was like, the German version of gramophone for many years. And that's how we met. You were at Phonoforum.
That's true, yes. In 1990 or 1991, I don't remember. Somewhere in England.
In the mists of time.
Yes.
Now we
yes.
met at a music festival that was given at St. John Smith Square by a Norwegian record label called Victoria. And they had issued a Grieg edition of no orchestral music. It was all chamber music and piano music.
It was only piano music, I think.
There was some chamber music in there too.
This was only piano. Yeah.
No, there was.
Yeah, there was.
Because it wasn't a complete piano music edition. It was an edition, but it was in a nice red box.
In a nice red box. I still have it sitting there.
There you go.
Arne Peter Rognan.
Arne Peter Rognan was the guy who ran it, and he's still around somewhere. He worked for Norwegian television and whatnot. But we met at that particular festival and hit it off, and had a wonderful time, including, I think I told you once about the fabulous Thai meal we had in London with all of the Norwegians and the Minister of Culture or ambassador or whatever he was, who wound up having to pay £2,000 for dinner.
The Blue Elephant.
At the Blue Elephant. Yes. That was an amazing thing. So after that, Sören and I founded the Cannes Classical Awards to honor, it was an attempt to do a record award that was actually honest and genuinely international by polling all of the critics at major music magazines in as many countries as we could get, and then coming together every year in France and giving awards. And
it worked.
And it worked.
And it worked for about 10 years.
12 years, yeah. And what a political football it became.
That was nice.
It was fun.
Very good. That was very good. And it helped the industry, it helped the artists, it helped everybody.
Yeah, it really did. But they told us when we originally when we originally got started, there was a very, very nice person at the Reed Meadham organization who organized it with us. And she said, we tried to do this before and it all went down the toilet. She said, as soon as it becomes successful, they're going to want to step in and take it over and interfere, which is exactly what happened.
That happened, yes.
That's exactly what happened.
And then, of course, it went down the tube.
Yeah, I mean, we left. We left voluntarily and involuntarily both, as they took it over. We told them to go screw themselves, and the remnants of the award were later sort of subsumed into another event by some of the former participants, and that's still out there somewhere. It really is, but it got to be just crazy. But we had a great 10 years. We met all kinds of major artists, and
true.
and people fawned and slobbered all over us. They did because we were the jury. Yes, we were the jury. And
everybody was nice about it, and they took it seriously up to a degree,
up to a point.
But we had this nice ceremony. The Medium sponsored the ceremony in some big hotels.
Yeah, in the big hotels in Cannes, and it was a thing.
It
was a thing. But in the meantime, I was doing my critical stuff, and Sören was working at Phonoforum, and then ultimately left Phonoforum and became a freelancer, doing record production and
doing Classic Heute.
Classic Heute, the successor to Phonoforum, his successor to Phonoforum, which is Classics Today. Get it? Yeah, and we were sort of brother publications.
Something like that.
Something like that, right? And at the same time, you started doing some consulting work, or?
No, that was later.
It was later?
Yeah, Classic Heute was a full-time. Classic Heute was a full-time job, I must say.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, in the beginning, and this was the end. Already, the end of the print magazines were in sight, and I had to find something else to do, and that was the beginning of, writing, doing booklets. I mean, also
that's it. Doing booklets, working
of it,
and designing some of these projects.
A lot of things within the industry, not very remarkable, but interesting in its own right. You don't change the world by doing things like that, but it's interesting, and you always learn something.
Well, and one of the projects
was
Earquake.
Earquake, yes.
Earquake, the world's loudest classical music record that we managed to convince Ondine Records to do, and I've talked about it, so we're not going to go into the details. But Sören was one of it was the brainchild of Sören and myself, and we got them to do it, and we selected the repertoire, and we had a wonderful concert in Helsinki.
That was
it was
true.
Fun with Leif Segerstam conducting.
Even the taxis had it on the doors,
Yeah,
and
it was
and
great.
It came with dancing, didn't it?
It came with the concert had an aerobic dance.
It was three concerts and
component.
Aerobic dance,
and I got to play in the recording session as special guest anvil soloist in Jan Leif's Hekla. The volcano erupted. I was banging on the anvils. Oh my God, it was fun. It was really quite something. They couldn't have been nicer, and more into the game. They were just wonderful.
It was wonderful. Yeah, Finland is a wonderful place anyway.
Yeah,
Leif Segerstam is a musician from top to the bottom. He is just unbelievable.
Completely out of his mind.
But yeah, he could do that. He could be loud and vulgar.
It was crazy, but a terrific musician and willing to do anything, and he does it well and prepared, and he knows his stuff. And he really added to the fun of the event.
I mean, I have to say that it's not only one person who is doing this stuff. There are many persons involved in this, and I think what you learn over time is that you pick the right person for a certain project. that the writer is correct, the writer is right, hopefully the artist is right, that the repertoire is right, all these things, that they go together and give a final product which is worth, well, the money in the end, of course.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And that takes some time very often, because you have to talk to people and talk to people and again talk to people. and this can be boring. But in the end, there are many people involved. And I think it's always, you know, if you see today, if you see the streaming out there, just this number thing, nothing of this is visible. Yeah, if you have a product like a CD, it's better, because there are names, and you can see there's somebody has done something. And with an LP, of course, it's even more visible. I mean, just be it for the fact that this is bigger.
You can read it. It has readable type.
And readable, yes.
So there was that.
Who wants LPs today?
Right.
It's not very many people.
No.
So I have to say that, you know, because it's always many people.
Yeah.
And doing things like that.
Well, subsequent to Earquake, though, one of the first projects that we had together was working at the archive of NDR, North German Radio in Hamburg. I was sick as a dog. I had bronchitis. I was coughing and hacking and looking for antibiotics. And NDR was a real eye-opener for me, because North German Radio, the German state radio, you know, military industrial complex, is really something. I mean, this place was a city. It was a huge campus with many buildings. And we worked in the music library, which was astonishing. It's an incredible library. And when we were coming there, they were in transition from their previous color to turning blue.
Yes, they changed the logo, and that caused all kinds of hysteria inside the house, and they had to change a lot, and of course they had to change the labels on the tapes,
on everything in the millions of item music library. They had to put new logos on so that they would be NDR blue.
Yes, and this new logo, but that's a very political thing, of course. I mean. In Germany, it's very political. From your American point of view, it may be
nuts.
That's a word.
They turned the toilets blue. We had a discussion with one of the guys there who was supervising us at NDR, and he told us about how he went on vacation. Of course, in Germany, his vacation was like 3 years long, because he had all the vacation time saved up with pay and all of these things that we Americans only dream of. And he showed up and he went to the bathroom and he noticed that it was blue. It had turned blue.
I think it's true.
Because another organization, another bureaucracy within North German Radio called NDR Media was tasked with the job, I remember this vividly, of creating a profile for NDR issued products and for NDR as a whole. And one of the things that they decided was that the NDR color was blue, and they had a logo, and so they switched everything over.
Yes, but the logo was not for the records. I mean, this was a whole other problem.
Yeah,
they had the idea of the booklet being like this, the way it was finally, and that didn't leave very many opportunities for text. We just couldn't write anything. So by then, Hans Isserstedt, who was the big guy at the beginning, and a very interesting person, but you couldn't write very much about him. You know, it just was. There were other things more important.
Well, at that time, though, it was an amazing music library, and we had a wonderful time going through it and looking at the things that they had, things that we always wanted to hear.
Yes, hear and bring out. But in the end, I think it were like 20 CDs which came out, and then they understood that apparently it was too expensive.
Well, initially we gave them a very, I think, wonderfully comprehensive program that they could release, including things like Schreckers Die Gezeichneten they had, remember? And the Carl van Garaguli Sibelius recordings, which come out since then on like other labels. And I remember particularly Werner Eck's variations on a Caribbean theme, the theme being Yellow Bird. Yellow bird, high up in banana tree. I mean, there's an actual set of variations on that by Werner Eck. And I mean, just tons and tons of interesting stuff. And they eventually started releasing discs in conjunction with EMI.
Yes, EMI was
their
distribution partner. Yes.
Yeah, but that didn't go too far. And after that, we were in Prague for a while, going through the Supraphon archive.
Oh yes, right. Yes.
Remember that?
Yes, of course.
That was
we were
fun.
there twice, actually.
Yeah, we were there twice.
And you were sick.
Yeah, I was sick. I was always sick. We traveled, but well, that was fun.
That was fun. That was a lot of fun, and I learned a lot, of course. I also learned a lot from David, of course.
Yeah,
Mr. Professor.
Yeah. Well, we were pushing them to release things like Karl Marx, Schulhoff's, Communist Manifesto cantata and things like that, and they couldn't do it because it was right at the time that the Berlin Wall came down.
No, this was later.
No, I mean,
but
I know.
Still,
don't be so German. It was yes, it was later, but politically
things were not.
They 1 year, let's put it this way: the first year we were there, the wall had not come down, or it was just come down. And the second year, when we were working in the archive, the second time was a couple of years later, and the whole complexion of the city had changed. Totally changed. It was like communism. What's communism? Here, buy some china, buy some glass. It was very, very, very different. And they also had a beautiful archive with wonderful things in it, and a lot of which they've released since. Actually, it eventually showed up, but going around through these archives and doing this stuff was wonderful. And now we're getting to the juicy part. Yes.
To the juicy part.
This is the juicy part. I'm not worried about how long this takes. They'll either watch or they'll turn off. You don't have to remind me. Right? You asked for this, folks. Suck it up. There. So, you started working for, or working with SWR. Südwestfunk, yes? And also Hensler?
For Hensler.
And
for
Hensler?
Hensler, for both, actually. Through Hensler for SWR.
And you worked on some fabulous projects. And we're going to talk about 3 of them.
Well,
one of them you mentioned.
No, this was for Hensler alone.
This was for Hensler alone.
Yeah.
Okay, it was Hensler and SWR. See how precise these people are?
Horrible.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. I have to get my data correct, or else. Anyway, I have no idea.
Well, I like it.
I know.
It's precise.
But that is why these productions are so beautifully made, because they are precisely done. Here's one of them: CPE Bach, the complete keyboard music with Anna Maria Markovina, which is not available this way, but you can get the whole thing right there. See this thing I'm pointing at? Yeah, that's the big blue CPE Bach box on Hensler, which has this in it, in case you're wondering. And it's the majority of it, actually, because it's 26 CDs, I think. I believe. Yes. And this was a project, was it not?
Yeah, that was a project.
It
all began that Anna Maria called and said, I did already two CDs with Württemberg sonatas, I think it was,
and a couple concertos,
and a couple of concertos. Yes, that's true, but this was not. What was this about? And then it was about reissuing these Württemberg sonatas. And then I was thinking, it's a little bit boring only, but very interesting composer. Nobody has ever done anything, which was not true, of course. There was another company who was doing all the music on cembalo or various instruments. But then I was talking to Dave about it, and he said, there is Packard Humanities doing a complete Bach edition, CPE Bach edition. they were in the beginning. I mean, they were out a few volumes, and the keyboard music was done from two, three volumes probably.
Mm-hmm.
And then I talked about this with Anna Maria, and she said, "Yes, great idea. Let's do it. Let's do all of it." And this all of it, and I like this all of it always. It was a good point in time to do things complete, bring out as complete as possible, because who knows how long it will be possible in the future. And
there's
so
nothing
we started
like being
that.
gazumped.
No.
And it's almost like being gazumped.
And we talked about this, and then started the process of talking to people, talking to piano tuner, all these things you need to do before the product. And it took, I don't know how many years.
A while.
It took a while, and she really was completely and totally behind it. I mean, I admire her for this dedication and the passion, actually.
And the performances are pretty marvelous. They really are.
Yes.
I mean, they're very, very good.
Yes.
But part of the beauty of working with Packard Humanities Institute is that it's an institute, it's a foundation, and so they could make the music available for free.
Yes, they were very helpful. Also, we got the music before it was even out, when it was in the state of being reviewed, and she had to play from just from the paper, not from editions.
Right.
And she did also some research where everybody was very helpful to make this happen. And then finally it was done, of course. And comes the whole thing with editing and doing the booklet and finding the right writers or the right way to present this. I mean, that's always complicated. And after, well, I don't know how many years, 3-4 years, 5
3 or 4
maybe.
years.
It was done.
Right.
Of course, the competitor complained this was not complete, and he mentioned some numbers, and I looked at it, and this was organ music.
Aha!
Sorry. I had someone write back, sorry, this is organ music. Doesn't need to be on the forte, on the piano, on the forte piano.
Well, the organ works were written for Anna Amalia, the sister of Frederick the Great, who I mentioned her. She had a pipe organ in her bedroom. She was a little
but also
eccentric.
here, I mean, it's many people who are involved to make this happen. And if you just see a stream, you have no idea. And that is probably the
So then the question is, it took 5 years to make. Was it in print for 5 years and available?
I don't know how long it was, actually.
Well, like I said, now it's part of the Big Bach here. So
Yeah.
the Big Bach box.
It's a shame, but what can you do?
It's a wonderful achievement, and just let's just say, putting together this booklet, which lists everything correctly.
I'm afraid it
I remember you working on it for
gosh,
about 5 years to have the correct actual list.
Yeah, that was a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
That was really something. Nobody knew exactly what was edited, when was it edited, on which CD, all of that. Even if you have a plan, it might be that a few seconds just ruin the plan.
Yeah.
And you have to do everything anew.
So next, after that, let's talk about this guy. Hans Rosbaud, the Hans Rosbaud edition from SWR, which I've talked about on many occasions in this channel and in Classics Today and elsewhere. A conductor who was sort of on the tip of everybody's tongue, as everyone who knew he did really wonderful work, and whose recordings, his radio recordings, had been pirated and issued, for years and years and years on various labels. And then there were a few studio recordings for Deutsche Grammophon, and there were some recordings on Vox and things that popped up, and nobody was quite sure where they came from. And this was the first attempt to actually put together an authorized Rosbaud edition from original sources.
Yes, indeed. Yes.
And
I mean, everything which came. Rosbaud was known as the guy who did modern music very well, and that was it. I mean, he did the Schönberg premiere.
Moses and Aaron.
Moses and Aaron in Hamburg, took over from Hans Schmidt-Isserstedt. Hans Schmidt-Isserstedt, yes. And but that was basically everything which was known, and there weren't very many pirates. There were a few on Deutsche Grammophon, that's true. But the bulk of everything he did was in the SWR archive in Baden-Baden, and was ready to brought out. Of course, it took some time to convince the people that it's really worth it, and I somehow managed to do up to a point. But there is still more, I have to say. There could be done more than this edition, which is like 10 CDs. But I was so convinced by everything he did.
No, it's more than 10 CDs. It's
10
volumes.
10 volumes, yeah, something like that. And I was so convinced by what he was doing with Mozart, with Haydn, with everything he touched. He was completely normal. He was not pretending anything. Everything was without pretense. He must have been, I mean, that's what he tells and what other people tell if you read about him. He must have been also a wonderful musician on the piano, but also, I think it was a violin, I'm not sure anymore, on some wind instrument. And he was very young. I think he was 20 or 22 when he was in Mainz doing the in Mainz. You have to edit this, please.
Edit what?
This.
Why?
Well, I don't.
Don't worry about it.
Okay. Yeah, I do worry. I don't like that.
He worries.
Please. Okay. Dave.
I don't worry.
I do. However, die Mainzer Musikschule, die städtische Musikschule, whatever this is in English.
The state conservatory of Mainz.
No, not
music
state.
School, music
no,
school.
No, the city music school.
City. Oh, sorry. Yes. City
He was chosen under I think like 40, 50, 60 other people, and later went to Frankfurt to the radio orchestra there. And that's where he met all the composers like Stravinsky and Bartók and played with them, and many, many others. And that's where it came from, that he was doing the modern music so well. But of course he could do all the other music very, very, very good.
I mean, his Mahler, his Bruckner, his Beethoven. Really, they were. There's a naturalness and, like you said, an honesty to his music making, and he was beloved by orchestras. Orchestras apparently really enjoyed working with him.
Well, the SWR orchestra seemed to have loved him.
Chicago Symphony loved him.
Chicago Symphony. He was on the, he was about to become the chief conductor of Chicago Symphony when he died.
Right.
Yeah. So that's a shame that he died too early, and his legacy is partly on these CDs, and you can do very much more actually. And there's another person I wanted to do, I have to say that, but couldn't. This was Bruno Maderna.
Sure.
As a conductor, not of his own works, but I mean, this man has.
His Mahler is legendary.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Yeah. If it's Mozart, if it's Mahler, wonderful performances. Unfortunately, this was not possible anymore. And there are very few pirates, not very many.
There are more of his work in Italy with terrible orchestras. There's his Mahler recordings and things in Italy. They're horrible. I mean, they really are.
Yeah. But these performances are wonderful. Unfortunately, he died also very young, or too early, let's say. Yeah, I couldn't do this anymore.
Why not?
Well, too expensive.
It was too expensive for
That's what they said. Yes.
given the expected sales.
Well, all of this is nobody knows really. It depends on, what do you do for these recordings? Of course, it's not the only point, but you can, if you start calculating, you can kill anything.
That's true.
And so, if somebody said it's too expensive, you have to take it.
That's going to be a T-shirt. If you start calculating, you can kill anything. I think that's great. That's a resonant line.
But that's what's happening, I mean, in the end, Okay. So you cannot argue with that. You can come up with other figures which are equally true in some way.
I understand. All right, well, last but not least, grab that pile, would you please?
Oh, God.
Carefully. This isn't all of it, but it's all but one. I have to find the other one. I think I know where it is, actually. Michael Gielen. Here he is. Michael Gielen, 10 volumes of Michael Gielen recordings. And these are...
I'm sure someone counted. These are only 9. The
this
last
is
one
9.
is somewhere here.
Yes. Yeah, the other one. The other one,
give me.
I have it somewhere around. It came out later, so it didn't learn to make love to those.
That was number 10. Number 10 was especially complicated.
All the crazy modern music.
Well, crazy. Yes, you may say so. Some of it is crazy. Some of it is very, very
some of it's
wonderful.
Yeah, Star Child. George Crumb.
Star Child. Yeah, that was actually the first German performance.
Yeah,
of Star Child. And other things, I mean, also Gielen was very proud of, I know. But this is a case, I have to say, these editions never would have come out without the help of a certain person. I don't know the name, but if you own one of these, he is there under edition planning. He is the official, let's say, archivar of Gielen's legacy. He collected everything. Gielen gave him everything. So this was this person, this very nice person, very helpful person, was a source of information without which nothing of this would have been possible. I think. I think I have to mention that. It's, as I said, it's always finding the people who can help making something happen. That's a lot of work sometimes.
And one of our viewers asked the question whether or not these things would remain available or be reissued, and you don't have any knowledge about that.
No,
right?
I don't. I'm not in touch with any of them.
Sorry, folks, you got to get them while you can. That's the problem with this stuff. I mean, it's out there. It exists. Maybe it will appear in streaming formats, but you'll miss the exquisite booklets put together by this guy. Beautiful,
but not written.
Yeah,
only a few sentences probably.
Yeah, well, you and I worked on some sentences here and there. You and I worked on editing some of the sentences that you got from other people. That were a little bit unusual.
Yes,
at various
sometimes
times.
German can be deceiving in what it says. Let's say.
Yes, we worked together on some of the grammatical aspects. I remember when you were working on these booklets.
Modern music is seducing if it comes to description.
It is.
You can say anything you want. You just have to say it.
Yes, only from an ontological perspective, a non-heuristic, epistemological, ontological perspective, and haptish sort of,
That's sort of hermeneutical.
Hermeneutical, yeah. I mean, you got to choose your words carefully.
Hegelian, of course.
Carefully, but not tautologically. But it's okay to be onomatopoetic. There we are.
It has to be dialectic.
Dialectic, yeah. You've got to have a dialectic.
Sorry.
Yeah. So, all right.
Yeah.
So right now, my dear friend is sort of kind of retired, which allowed him the opportunity to come here, and I'm delighted that he would come, and delighted that I could convince him with a little bit of friendly persuasion, to do this talk, so that you could get a little bit of a sense of
Well, there is
how these things happen.
there's a lot of things behind some products, let's say. Not all of them, but if you consider, going back in time, there are so many interesting recordings and so many people were involved in it. It's of course also the tonmeister, the sound engineers and everybody. Until things are on the market, there's a lot of work involved, and you don't see that if it's just a stream.
Right.
But I know it's kind of interesting.
But it's well, these are collectible objects done with loving care.
I'm not sure if it's still available.
No,
actually.
done with a lot of love and a lot of care. And the thousand pities is that they don't know how to sell them, and they don't know what to do to keep them available, so that people, have an opportunity to enjoy and listen to them themselves. It's really a shame. All that work that you talk about goes into producing these things, and then they vanish.
Yeah, they vanish. And unfortunately, I think in 2007, I started this series with music from the Ballet Russes.
Yeah.
Which is a period from 1909 until 1929 under the what's the word? Surveillance? No, under
The Diaghilev.
Diaghilev, yeah,
The Diaghilev period.
which is a very interesting period, and there are very many pieces are known, but more are unknown.
Yeah.
Well, that is a problem. Because they are unknown, they cannot be sold. And who knows what the Ballet Russes were? That was that were the arguments.
That was with Camberling conducting a lot of it, right?
No, that was not the Camberling also. But I mean,
Some of that stuff was in there because they issued a box of what they'd done up to the point.
Yes, it was 10 or 11.
9 or 10 CDs.
Yes.
But then
in the moment it starts to become a little bit complicated.
I have it
then
right
it's
over
over.
there. Yeah.
Then it's over. That's unfortunately. And we had this. We worked together with John Neumeier Archive, and he was very open. He gave pictures and information and whatever. So it could have been very, very, very interesting to bring this to an end. But finally.
Yeah, it petered out. But then EMI did a big Ballet Russes box.
Yeah.
I mean, which is bigger than the one that they finally issued, the limited Warner. Yeah, EMI Warner, but because they had more stuff in their archive. But you had new recordings.
I have to give the SWR credit here because they actually produced some of the pieces not available.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's the way it is. You start something, you never know if you can finish it.
That's it. All right. Well, we have finished this.
You finish this. Yeah.
We finished this, right?
Thanks.
You're looking for a graceful exit. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Sören, for doing this, and I really appreciate it. I hope you found this sort of interesting, a little bit of insider info, and keep on listening. Take care.